Mike Richards through the seam. Deflected Scott. He scores!
Coffee gets it back into the zone. Cutter. Back in. Strong one. Three by He started on the block. Hip-hop. Trendsetters. The score with hard knocks in the attitude era. Yeah, I just wanted to be one of the best. Holding the mic cause I'm yelling out D's generation. I don't know how that started, but they just made it a big
Hello, everybody, and I have to say once again, the best intro ever that's going bye-bye. We're still waiting for Aiden the intern, my nephew, to finish the year 3 intro. I'll miss the year 2 intro, just as I missed the year 1 intro. Ladies and gentlemen, we are Flyers and Ice. I am Dan Green with Zach Kinderchuk. We are the Heat Ratio Sports Network. You must follow, subscribe, check us out on YouTube. I am here with Zach, as I mentioned. Our good friend Nick the Scout Tosti could not make it today, but I always have a Zach up. You like that? That's bad. That's bad. But anyway, Zach Kinderchuk is the third member of our family. Zach, it's been a long time for Flyers.
It has been a long time.
So give everyone an update on Zach Kinderchuk, the greatest podcast ever, known as My Dad Used to Play Hockey. What's the status with that? And then we'll get into the Fly guys. Talk to us, Zach.
It's been a long hiatus. I took some trips. I went to Costa Rica, and I'm not coming back annoying like a lot of people do after they go to the jungle and they're still the same person. But I just needed a break from it. I feel like in a lot of ways I lost my passion for hockey and my passion for talking to hockey players, but I've regained it, and I can't wait to put out season 3. I talked today to Mike Emmerich, and sometimes it's more fun to talk about the people who cover hockey than even the hockey players. And Mike Emmerich called me from he was on the line at a grocery store, and it's this season, now that we're back, and I know it's been overshadowed by the Eagles' success and the Phillies, obviously the Phillies' success, and then the Union for the people who are annoying. There's been a lot of things over. It almost would have been better for the Flyers if they had started 1-7. They would be getting more attention, but they've just started okay. And there's been a lot of stories that came out in the offseason that have sort of made me feel different about this franchise, and that's been sort of disappointing. So I wanted to go see a change of pace, find my love for the game again. It's back. I can't wait to get into season 3. And yeah, I miss talking to you, Dan.
No, same. I always text Zach out of the blue and check in, and when I get ignored, I figure something had to be up. But he was in Costa Rica, so now I know where to find my inner hockey. I have to go to Costa Rica to get it back.
Yeah, that's where you find it.
But yeah, to Zach's point, I mean, we are such a incredible fan base in Philadelphia, and we are just living red and green right now. So it's hard for the Flyers to even be noticed. And I would even go a little further. It's a shame they didn't start the season until like next week, because they really. Yeah. I mean, I'm a hockey nut. I always have been, but I'd be lying to my audience if I said I've watched every minute of every game. I mean,
no one has. I mean, I went to the Flyers game after I went to the NLCS clincher, so I was there in Citizens Bank, and then we decided to go over to the Flyers game, and we just lasted a period. It was when they were playing the Sharks, and
yeah,
it was not.
That was the worst game of the season.
Yeah, and then Konechny and Hayes both of them got benched, right?
Yeah. So one of the topics. So we'll get to that. So yeah. let's just talk in general. Whether it's a surprising start. They're 5-2-1. They started off 3-0. I believe 2 of their first 3 games they were trailing 2-0, and this team never had the gumption to come back. So Carter Hart's been playing out of his mind. I mean, the Florida game that they won recently, they were outshot 51-22 for crying out loud. That is the quintessential standing on your head, stealing a game moment by a goalie. So Carter Hart, knock on wood, is the Carter Hart we've been hoping for. It just sucks that he's the Carter Hart we've been hoping for on this type of team. It would be great if they had the complementary cast to support a phenomenal goalie in the making. We are a team that is 5-2-1 with no Couturier, no Atkinson, no Ellis. Bobby Brink wasn't necessarily a centerpiece, but he was still someone that was thought about. And if you were thinking about bringing up York eventually, he got injured pretty badly in the minors. So the silver lining in all that is, even with every single one of those players mentioned, I still contend by year's end they're going to be a bottom 7 team. I initially started off last week with Nick the scout, saying they were a bottom 4 team. So to my surprise, and I'll eat crow with the best of them. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this team hovers around win loss, and yeah, I just ultimately here's my view of the Flyers, and you can take over because I talk too much. With Tortorella as your coach, the new coach, you're just going to have that initial. He's going to make every player run through the wall for him, whether they want to or not. They're just going to run through the wall for him. So teams playing against the Flyers are going to say, "Hey, they have a new coach that's going to make this team hustle, never give up, run through the wall." However, if you play to their compete level, we have more talent than them.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's what's going to be the outcome in the long haul, I believe. They can run through the wall as much as they want. They just don't have the talent. They still don't have anyone that could undress you with the stick. Just attack whoever has the puck on the power play, and that this team's going to be in trouble. That being said, the silver lining is you get Cates in the lineup, players like that. Now we have Kiefer Bellows, who was someone else's bust, maybe will be have a rebirth with us. Not optimistic. I remember the year he was drafted. I think it was 16. I was kind of hoping for him because he was known as a sniper. But the bottom line, they're 5-2-1. They're 5-2-1, and I think it's based on the adrenaline rush of having a new coach in John Tortorella. Your thoughts on Torts and the surprise start, and then we'll get into like surprise players.
Well, I mean, this is kind of our start last year, right? What did we start last year? 6-1-1, I think.
I don't recall it being that good, but I'll take your word for it.
Okay, don't take my word for it. But it was an optimistic start, and we were kind of blowing out teams. Talent's eventually going to be our big issue. We just don't have a lot of it, and I think that there's a bit of a blessing in Atkinson being out and Couturier being out, so we're going to see the kids. But how excited are you about these kids?
No, there is no like Joel Farabee, God bless him, came back so much earlier than I thought. I mean, his name should be on this list based on his injury, and he's starting to. The Konechny Hayes Farabee line is a nice line.
Yeah.
A nice second line on most teams. It shouldn't be your team's number 1 line, but he is a player that I think
he's someone that we're hopeful for because he's what, 22, 23.
Yeah, with the right centerman, he could be a 30-goal scorer
40 goal years.
Yeah,
but I think that's in his future.
Yeah, there's just no guy that excites you. There's no young Claude Giroux in the making on this team.
You had to bring up his name.
Well, I'm just talking about from a talent perspective. I just don't see a guy getting more than 70 points in their career with this team. That's the sin of it. And there's still salary. They still have salary cap issues. Oh, and I forgot to mention JVR is part of that injury list, and I don't care.
Neither so, he's probably ecstatic about that.
Right. But the bottom line is JVR and company not being in the lineup gives us an opportunity to look at kids. And again, none of these kids are going to be like, oh my God, we've discovered a front line, a first line forward. Oh my God, who would have known? That's not going to happen. We have a bunch of bottom 3 and 4 line players at best. So that's the shame of it all. But at least seeing new faces, and it gives you just you have to have in life, you have to have goals, or you have to be excited about something. So if I'm going to reach for something, it's like, oh, Kiefer Bellows is going to play his first game. I'm curious what he's going to look like. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
If and when Ronnie Adder gets brought back up, will he be playing better? If York ever, if I really don't know the extent of his injury, but I heard he was really laboring to get off the ice the other night, and it could be an issue with his leg. If he, I don't, I forgive me for not knowing his status, but when these guys come back up, will they have made significant growth in the minors? And that's kind of the way I look at it. But again, they started off with a 5-2 win against the Devils, who many, myself included, had them in the wild card mix as an up and coming team. Then they were down 2-0 and came back and beat Vancouver 3-2. Surprisingly, beat Tampa Bay 3-2.
Yeah, it was really surprising.
It was a really a 4-2 loss with the last second goal to the Florida to make it 4-3. They played really well against Nashville, winning 3-1. San Jose game was a disaster, and of course you had to be there. And that was the game that Torts benched Hayes and Konechny, which we'll build on next. And they had that phenomenal Carter Hart game where they won 4-3. Were outshot 51-22, and they played a nice game against a really good Carolina team, where it was back and forth, and then they ultimately lost in overtime.
Oh, there's no shame in losing to Carolina.
Right. I mean, they basically have played Tampa Bay, Florida twice, and Carolina, and a lot of people like Nashville. So they've played some solid teams. So they're 5-2-1. Again, off of, I believe, their hair being on fire because of a new coach. How long that lasts, I don't know. So real fast, let's build on players that we believe are having a nice start. Obviously, you start with the goaltender, who's been unbelievable. He hasn't lost a game. Both losses, I believe, went to. No, actually, he lost the overtime game.
He did
lose. But the 2 regulation games went to Sandstrom, and the 1 regulation loss went to Hart. Hart has a over 940 save percentage. He's just playing terrific hockey.
Yes.
I thought the benching of Hayes and Konechny came out of the blue for me, because I was going back and forth with that game. It was just a hard game to watch. I was surprised to hear they both got benched for the entire third period. I thought Konechny has been their best player by far at the forward position this year. 4 goals, 5 assists. Kevin Hayes has 9 assists. Defensively, I know you and I have differing views on Provorov. I don't think he'll ever be the number 1 I really thought he would be, but I really do believe he's having a nice start to the year. He's been very solid. He's been very noticeable. I don't necessarily love D'Angelo the character, but the hockey player I like. He's been very, very good. And then you just got, the guys that are the character guys. Supposedly Delorier is a great locker room guy. I'm still disappointed, and I think Scott Lawton's played well. Morgan Frost, please step up your game already. I need to see more.
Yeah,
that
right.
kind of, Tippett, step up your game. I know you're injured, but you're acquired for G. Let's step up your game. Allison's been playing solid, so they've got a bunch of solid guys. But again, there's nobody on this. No one has 7 goals yet on this team. You know what I'm saying? There's nobody that's just
close. I mean, yeah, Hayes is our top scorer, and he has 1 goal.
Correct.
Yeah, he's got.
So are we on board with the players that we think are having nice starts, essentially?
So the 2 players I say, like Carter Hart, he's a first team All-Star right now. Like, he's been playing as well as Shesterkin. Like, he's just been phenomenal. And then we all have personality conflicts with Tony DeAngelo, but he's been their second best player. I know that, like, Kevin Hayes has a nice 10 points over the first 9 games, and Konechny, I think, has 9 after 8. But really, do you think that they're going to sustain that pace? The only person that I think is going to sustain that pace in terms of position players is Tony.
Because you don't need.
I wish I didn't have to say that, but that's probably what's going to happen.
Well, you don't have to show flashy numbers from the defensive perspective, whereas a guy like
The 7
Konechny,
points in 8 games. I mean, that's pretty
yeah,
extraordinary.
no, he's a power play specialist. He's the quarterback at the power play.
Yeah.
He's a really good
We
player.
haven't had that in a long time.
No, he's a really good player. And he was a player out of necessity with Ryan Ellis probably never playing hockey, for at least this town. So yeah, those are the players that are standing out for me.
Well, there's just 2 for me. I mean,
So two
I
for
know that
you are
Kevin Hayes,
D'Angelo and Hart, but
just D'Angelo and Hart.
I got to give this team more credit. You're not 5-2-1 with this with the historically awful season they had last year with just 2 players playing well. Provorov has been playing well. Konechny has been playing well, and you've had guys have their chip in moments. So
But I think when I think about terms of playing well, I think about sustainability. Who's going to be playing well at game 30, game 40?
well,
And
that's a totally we shall see. I mean, and this is not me picking on you. You've always been a fan of Travis Sanheim, and
I
I've just
have.
thought he's been an average player.
He's been
He shows
very lousy
flashes,
this
but
year.
he shows flashes, then he'll disappear for 20 games.
Agreed, because they've never know how to use him.
Well, you signed him to an unexpected 6-year, pretty big contract.
6.25 AAV. Yeah, it was a big
It's
contract.
ridiculous.
But he's 26. Like, that's not a bad contract to sign. You're going to lock him in, and I think that he still has the most potential of anyone in the defensive core. I do. I've always thought that could be because when I watched the NHL finals last year, I thought about who could skate, and I got pushback on this from some people I interviewed. Speed is what the NHL is about right now, and who's faster than Travis Sanheim on the Flyers?
But he doesn't play fast. That's the problem.
He can, though. He can, and I don't know. I don't know if it's a fractured relationship with John Tortorella. I don't know what it is, but he's gotten off to a rotten start.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't.
I don't know what it is.
We're waiting.
It's a confusing team.
Because
they aren't bad. They aren't.
He's had multiple
bad.
coaches. Multiple coaches. So, maybe he had. Maybe if he's 26 and he's had 4 coaches already. I wish someone would let him let his hair down. It's kind of like when Niedermeyer played. Scott Niedermeyer. He had so much unbelievable offensive skill.
Scott
Niedermeyer. So he was but he was, Jacques Lemaire made him play defensive hockey. So you never really saw the Dennis Potvin side of Niedermeyer as much as you should have. But everyone knew what a great hockey player he was. I mean, I don't know if people are making Sanheim or coaches are making him be more defensive responsible, where he's afraid to jump up on the play. And
yeah, well, he wasn't last year. That's what I always liked about him last year is that he was the only guy who pinched, and every time he pinched, it seemed to make sense.
He won the Barry Ashby by default because,
of course, he did.
It was just like they traded Braun, who had a third of a season, and it was mediocre after that. And if Braun had stayed, he probably would have won the trophy.
I still don't think so. Actually, I think Sanheim was overall the best.
As I said to Nick the scout, it was like he was the prettiest pig in the pen to choose from. It was just
he didn't have a great year, but he was like plus minus. I think is a bigger stat than a lot of people kind of give credit to. I know that it's like a weird analytic, but Sanheim was a plus last year. Like that's a thing, especially someone who was on the power play so often.
Plus minus is important. It is important.
And and we had the most disastrous season we've ever seen out of a defenseman. We just kept along for him to get a record. And Keith Yandel, who was minus 47. I don't even know.
Don't remind me.
But yeah, I'm sorry to remind everybody about that. But that was all ugly. But most of the forwards, pretty much all the defensemen, including Provorov, who is still to me the most disappointing Flyer we have on the roster, even after a somewhat strong start this year. Like this guy should be a number one. Like he's got all, like there's nothing he's lacking. He's got the offensive abilities, the defensive abilities, and he's just not really proving himself. Sanheim is more of a wild card. I get that. He has up games and down games, but like I think that he should have more up games than down games. And I don't know what's preventing him from doing that this season. I'm not sure what it is. But I've been sort of bummed out because, like I said last year when I came on your show, I think Sanheim has the potential to win in Norris. I think he really does. I truly believe that. And I don't know what's going on in his mind or with this game. It's been really disappointing. But they are 5-2-1. and just good enough to not be destroyed while we're distracted by the actual good Philly teams. One, the Phillies, obviously, and the Eagles, and then the Union, again, as we talked about at the beginning of the show. Like they're sort of lucky to come out under the radar. I think it's actually good for the team that no one's focusing that much on them. It was sort of a bummer to go into a half-filled Wells Fargo on Sunday night after the Phillies game, where the biggest cheer was, the Phillies winning, and then Oscar Lindblom. I will give the Flyers huge credit for that. Lindblom plays for the Sharks now. Great 2-minute tribute to his struggles and everything. Like, we all love Oscar, but he's just wasn't a good fit here anymore. They let him go. That was nice. But when the biggest cheers start coming from external things that are happening, that's sort of a problem. I just feel like, Dan, because I'm on Flyers Twitter, I created this whole account just to only ingest Flyers things, and I'm just not seeing anyone talk about them right now, even at 5-2-1, and that's sort of upsetting.
It's predominantly because it's the Phillies and Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that other teams are doing well, but it's also like, what is there to talk about? Like, I like the Tortorella hire, but are you just going to do the same thing that you did before? Is that what's going to be, where you just bench players, you yell at the media? Like, what is there anything new? You make players skate hard during practice. Is there anything new that's going to be interesting, or are you just going to do this again? And I don't know. That's sort of what's just pushed down my interest a little bit on this Flyers team. Of course, Eagles are 7-0. The Phillies are in the World Series, but even beyond that, I love hockey. Hockey's my number one sport. You know that. And it's just like, are we just going to see the same act played out again? And that's...
He said it would be different, so we shall see.
Yeah, I know he did, but his benching of Konechny and Hayes, and he doesn't explain it. Well, if you're going to do shit like that, explain it. Why were they bad?
Does he have to explain it to us, though?
Yes.
I mean, I would like to know, but I would be more disappointed if the guys in the locker room still don't know, because we've had, we haven't played professional sports.
I'm sure they do.
I've had coaches that have treated me like crap and never gave me a reason for it. So,
just tell us.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's like the game is already just sort of flailing a little bit in here in Philadelphia. Here's why I benched Hayes and Konechny. He just gave us vague answers. Like, I get it. He's got his whole thing, his whole like gimmick where he's contentious with media. It's boring to me. Just answer the goddamn questions. Just do it. If you're that blunt.
And someone like Nick Deslauriers can't do any wrong for him. So,
and I've talked to people that thought Nick Deslauriers would become a fan favorite here. I do another podcast called The Reload with my uncle Bob Strum. He was a scout for the Columbus Blue Jackets. He thought Deslauriers would come here and be a fan favorite because he fights. We don't care about fights. Let's just be chippy. Like,
right?
I don't know.
I don't.
Interests me zero, because we already had a Deslauriers. We have Zach McEwen.
Yeah, well, right.
So a fan favorite.
I want, again, my philosophy on fighting, because I'm old school, as my nickname indicates, is I want the angry Ben Wilson type of fight. I want the pissed off Rick Tocchet type of fight. I don't want guys talking at the face-off circle. Hey, you want to go? It's my first game. I hate scripted stage fights. Now, if McEwen and Deslauriers are on the ice against Tom Wilson and Garnet Hathaway, and things get chippy, and it's an organic fight, that's the kind of fight I want to see, and that'll develop, him being someone that I'm excited to watch, a little hockey. I don't want to see.
I would love to see Nick Deslauriers beat up Tom Wilson. I'd love to see anybody beat up Tom Wilson.
Yeah, I don't want to see scripted fights. Even Nick Seeler can go. So we have toughness.
I mean, Nick Seeler was Nick Seeler was one of the best protagonists of last year. Crappy player, but like, if you ever saw like the arena as engaged as it was because of Nick Seeler. Like, Nick
Seeler beat up Nick Deslauriers in a fight.
Yeah, I know.
So we've got three
engaged the crowd. It was amazing.
Right. We've got three legitimate.
And I'm not like, I don't want to be a team again, because this team doesn't exist anymore, where it's fights that need.
No, it doesn't. The league doesn't exist anymore. It really doesn't.
It hasn't forever. So it's like we don't have anything else, right? But we already have that person And I don't know, the thing that I guess is I'm most upset about when looking into the season 5-2-1 is that obviously the injury plague has hit us again, and we don't know what's wrong with Cam. We don't know what's wrong. We'll never know what's wrong with Ryan Ellis. I mean, he's never going to play again. We have Coots, who has just had another surgery. We don't know what's going to happen there. But what bugs me about that is that there's 5 years leading up to that no one prepared for. We had all these players that are now, I mean, Cam's what, 34?
I think
Coots is 31.
Yeah.
Ellis is 35. Like, you shouldn't be relying on guys in their mid to late 30s who are going to carry your team. It's just that we haven't been drafting and preparing ourselves for the future forever. And that's sort of maddening. And then you bring in a guy like Torts who's supposed to shake things up, and he's going to play his whole little role. And it's like, it's fun for a little while. But in the end, all we get is a new hashtag and a whole buttload of disappointment.
But I remember, I'm not trying to, I'm not going to get contentious. That's not what my point is. But I remember, we had a coaching show, you and I, of who we wanted. And you wanted Torts.
I did not. I wanted talking.
But I think okay, you're right. And I wanted one of the assistants of like Tampa Bay or Carolina. That's kind of who I was looking for. But I think you were okay with Torts, though. You weren't.
I was okay with Torts because that's the second best option.
Right, but
he comes in
I called him a slash and burn because you just have that.
But he's not a slash and burn.
I know, I was wrong because he stays 4 or 5 years. Slash and burns don't last that long, but he gives you that press conference feel of a slash and burn kind of coach. Or maybe organizations kept them on a little too long. And like with today's athletes being so soft, you just wonder how they can handle it. So real fast, the Torts Hayes Konechny issue, I thought, was that going to derail this team before it got started? Like, oh my God, they're off to this great start. What is he doing? And then they've played a couple of decent hockey games since then. Or is this something that you think will linger, or do you think both players are over it? They got his message, whatever it may be, and they know not to. Maybe they were lazy on some shifts that to the naked eye, we didn't see. I wasn't at the game. I didn't watch a lot of this game. So I don't know if you were able to tell from your perspective if they had some bad shifts, they were defensively irresponsible, and he's for some reason going after them because they're frontline players.
He definitely is. Like, he wants to send a message, right, that no one is above reproach. So I get that, but also, like, all right, there's this philosophy that you can work your team to death and make them a better team. And that's kind of been his philosophy. Like, there was this whole fear going into training camp. Like, you're never going to work harder than you have for John Tortorella.
Yeah, people go to training camp to get ready for his training camp.
Yeah, exactly. But then there's also strategy. There's something beyond that. I do think John Tortorella is a good coach, and I'm glad that he's here over some of the other names that were mentioned. But also, like, just be a real person. Stop just being your stupid gimmick. That's what's sort of frustrating to me about him. It's like, you're John Tortorella, so you're playing the character of John Tortorella.
Yeah, eventually the honeymoon with the media, you can tell, is already coming to an end. Where
like we all know, he's going to yell at some point.
Before he answers a question.
Great.
Yeah,
he's going to bench Hayes and Konechny for reasons we don't know. Great. And we are 5-2-1, and I don't think this is a playoff team, but I think that they'll be, unfortunately, in a weird way, better than they should be. But it's like, I've seen him turn teams around. He turned Columbus around for sure. And there's people that love him, people that hate him. So I like that he brought in that sort of intensity. I like that he takes accountability for when the team doesn't play well. I like that he calls out players via like the media or, but also like some of it just feels like this is what I'm supposed to do because I'm John Tortorella. Now let me get on to my Greyhounds, which is a great thing that you do. But it's like, are you the future fix of this team? I don't know.
No, players are the future fix of the team. And then
that's the problem too.
The management. How long can Fletcher lead this team. I just
I mean, the fact he's not fired at this point is
and is Briere definitely the
No.
next in line.
no, he shouldn't be.
So we'll see. It's a shame. I mean,
It's a bummer. It's a bummer.
it's been
It was such a bummer to go from the Phillies.
47 years. So it's
a long time.
Staggering.
Just to go from that Phillies game, which I was there on Sunday, which is it's just a bigger thing of culture, right, man? Like I'm wearing a Phillies hat instead of a Flyers hat for a reason. I'm not gonna wear a Flyers hat again for a while. Like the Phillies get it. Bryce Harper gets it. Alec Boehm gets it. And then the Flyers just don't get it. And they're going to maybe be good, maybe borderline playoff team this year. High expectations. That's the highest expectation.
Not in this division. No.
But the problem is that they just aren't integrating themselves with the community anymore, and still feel distanced. And I think that's the thing that pisses me off more than anything is that. I mean, what's the reason you're giving me out to come out and see this team? What is it? That your coach is going to be contentious with the media? That you're like, what is it? What player? Because the Phillies have a player, Bryce. Man, I love Bryce. Jesus, he's gotten it from day one. The Sixers have Maxey. Like Maxey just gets it. The Eagles have name a player: Slay, Kelsey, Hurts,
AJ Brown now.
Yeah, AJ Brown. It's just like connect with community. Who is on the fucking Flyers? Who's doing that? Nobody.
Hey, I have students watching the show.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who is the unicorn Flyer?
No, listen. It's
that's the most maddening thing. Who am I supposed to connect to? Who am I supposed to connect to on this team? Carter? Well, Carter at this point, I just pity.
Yeah, no.
I just feel bad for him, and I don't.
Right, we just said he's a great
because of all the ancillary news about him.
Yeah,
so it's just like it's hard even to like throw myself 100% in his corner. Like it's just they built Gritty, and I know Gritty's fun and whatever.
No, I can't stand Gritty.
I know, but like he's fun. But like if I'm going to buy a jersey, which I never would.
That was what I was about to say. I just ordered one.
Who?
I went Farabee.
Great, but you're never going to wear that.
It just hangs. It's just for decades.
Yeah. Oh, you just hang. Who you got? Who's the Phillies jersey you got behind you?
That's Chase Utley.
See, I mean that's a guy whose a jersey I would buy.
And yeah, my wife wore my Bryce Harper one to work for the whole
Halloween thing,
school support, and every teachers
are wearing. I think that's the most frustrating, and I know that there are people working harder on, and maybe I sound like just a more old school fan than you, but
that can't be.
There's no one that I would go to the arena to see, and there hasn't been in forever. And I would throw Giroux in there too. I never was excited to go see Claude Giroux play.
No,
and like there's even less now.
I can't argue with you. I can't argue with you. That's what I've been saying for the past 2 years with this team. Who has an unbelievable skill set on this team? Even Giroux, who had the hands, he had no more speed. And then if it wasn't about speed, he didn't have talent to utilize his skill set. When you had him and Voracek in their prime, and you had the tough guy Simmons, who was both a policeman and a 30 goal scorer, there was some excitement there.
Yeah.
I did have the expectations that Provorov would have developed into a top 5 NHL defenseman.
But imagine what kid right now is like, I want to go see Ivan Provorov play tonight.
No, at one point I thought that would be the case, but it's not. There is nobody on this team. There is no dynamic young centerman. Again, we could have had one, but we drafted Cam York instead.
Right.
Of help me out, Montreal.
Cole Caulfield,
yeah. Could have been Cole Caulfield. That guy's electrifying at times.
Yeah.
But we went Cam York and a Cole Caulfield 2.0 and Bobby Brink, and it's not quite.
Well, obviously, and there's the whole Nolan Patrick, Cale Makar thing. Like you make bad draft picks, and that happens. But it's just it's even beyond that. It's just none of these guys feel like Flyers. There's not one Flyer on the team besides Carter Hart who feels like a Flyer.
All right.
And again, I sound very old timey saying that, like a Kate Smith statue saver, but it's just the truth. There's been bad Flyers teams in the past, and we still rooted for them because there was an effort and like there was still like the thought that you had pride putting on this jersey, and there's not one damn player on this team outside of Carter that I feel that about. It's just that I think that's what bums you out more. And what also is sad for me is when I do go to the games, and I've been to one this year, and when you have a whole section to yourself, it's like, okay, this is how the team is being received. Like section 201 empty. Their concessions are better. You can get some good food there. It's great.
You went to the first of what's the tell me that the theme was the honoring the alumni kind of night, wasn't it?
No, I was going to, and I had.
Well, what was that theme? What are they calling that?
So 60s and 70s night.
Right. So
Yeah.
what do they do? They have one
So
of
they
their newer
had
jerseys on.
people from 60s and 70s.
No, I understand that. But
Yeah.
So they have one of their newer jerseys on. Why not, for those type of games, break out an old school jersey?
I don't know.
That would have been a smart thing to do, in my opinion. I was like, anyway. So let's pay the bills. So based on what Zach's saying, you're not going to want to buy any Flyers card anytime soon, but you might want to look into some Eagles memorabilia, Eagles cards, Phillies cards.
I agree.
So the sports card industry is booming, Zach, and now is the time to start collecting. No matter the sport, the novelty and value of the hobby is at an all-time high. That being said, JN Sports Breaks is a Facebook page where it comes in full circle. Started by John and Nick, two blue-collar guys from the tri-state area, this page creates a fan-friendly atmosphere while giving the collector what they want. Whether you're new to the hobby or a seasoned collector like Zach, JN has a break for you. Make sure you're following today for all the free promos, games, and giveaways. As a bonus, mention this ad and receive a $5 off your first break. Remember, follow JN Sports Break on Facebook and also on Whatnot app at JN Sports Break, all one word. You got to check out JN Sports Break on Facebook, Zach, and it's fascinating. You bid on things. It's just an awesome new concept. JN Sports Breaks, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, no, I think collecting cards is definitely not weird.
No. So I guess we'll wrap up our 10-minute misconduct, 37 minutes in. Oh boy.
Oh, is it that long?
There's no, I can't come up with another name now, Zach. I mean, I went from 2 minutes for roughing to 5 minutes for fighting. All right, we can't do a show in 5 minutes to a 10-minute misconduct. We're going to keep this short and quick. And look at me, it's 37 minutes. But we were engrossed in conversation. And
buy hockey cards.
But listen, they play the Rangers tonight at New York.
They're gonna get smoked.
Yeah, more than likely. But they come to the rink playing hard. Anything can happen. But Zibanejad and company, Panarin and company, my favorite goalie in recent years, Shesterkin. I've tailed that kid before anyone knew his name.
I hate Russians, but he's okay.
Okay, you and Ned Snyder, God rest his soul, both.
Yeah.
All right. On behalf of Zach, my dad used to play hockey, Kinderchuck. I am Dan Old School Green, whose friend's dad used to play hockey. And we are Flyer and Ice. We are Heat Ratio Sports Network. And we'll be back probably in a few. We're going to live in the moment with the Phillies and Eagles and give you periodic 5-7 game stretch recaps of how the Flyers are doing. It's a hard product to watch, and you see a lot of these hockey podcasts are not as active as they used to be, and I wonder why.
Well, if you like interviews that are good and you don't like assholes like the Nasty Knuckles crew, then listen to my podcast.
Listen, I'm not that's a Zach comment. I don't disparage any shows. I that's not my style, Zach, but Zach's show is terrific. My dad used to play hockey. Check him out on all platforms like the ones listed below our names. All right, everyone. Enjoy the Flyers game tonight. Go Phils. Go Eagles. And go Flyers tonight. Good hockey, everyone. Take care.